is that the people who bear the brunt of that is not the Lehman brothers and Fannie Mac and Freddie Mae and Freddie Mae and Fannie Mac and Jimmy Mac can't get no love up in there. So what's interesting is that those who are stuck at the bottom are the masses of people registered but not voting and not even registered to vote. Killer Mike talked about the opening up of the potential for people who are convicted felons to vote in many states, even in Ohio. Though there are places where people just don't get that message, and there's been a deliberate attempt of the Republican Party to match that. And this is why I love Barack Obama. Barack Obama is doing this, but in a very, skillful way. We don't want to say too much about it since it's on the internet about what's going on. That's why I love Barack Obama. The reason I want him to be the president, the reason I want him to be for real the president, is not because of what he can do for the individual. And this, I'm going to tell you why, in terms of black voting. It's as Killer Mike said, it's the ceiling that's open. It's young children at home going, if he can be the president, I could be a theoretical physicist. Wow. I could be a nuclear scientist. I can actually do something that I set out to do because now the sky is the limit. We know that the blowback as a result of his success will be redistributed to poor black people who are already vulnerable. The loss of affirmative action, you got that, hey, what you want? You got a president. Now you want reparations, now you want affirmative action, now you want justice, now you want criminal justice, now you want the undermining of over-incarceration. You got a president. That's what I'm telling you, don't be bewitched by that. I want the president, but I understand that what he does is open up a symbolic sky that allows the beautiful possibilities to rain down on the unfettered possibilities to rain down on the heads of children and to soak into them. That's the beautiful thing. Now, what we got to do then, in terms of why we ain't getting registered to vote, is that we got to do trench warfare. We got to get it. It ain't just television. The ads are are for the cognoscenti. Those of us watching, oh, how interesting, how witty, how acerbic, right? But on the street, in the streets, what we got to do is trench warfare. We got to go out into these churches, in these barbershops, in these beauty shops, and we got to tell folks, young black people who look at Sarah Palin, and I'm sorry if you think that she's a trip on the Republican Party, a lot of black folk I done talked to talk about voting for her. A lot of you would call them unenlightened and uninformed, but they appear because a lot of them are against, some of them against abortion. It talks about that conservative rhetoric that we hear in the Pentecostal and the Baptist and the Methodist Church. So the thing is that now we've been hoodwinked to such a level that Sarah Palin looks like an attractive candidate for many of these people. So what we have to do is trench warfare. Go into these places and spaces and number one, literally tie the ability of black folk to do certain things. Tithe in church, well, we can't tie to that because they will never tithe. But in terms of getting certain resources, let's tie it to voter registration. Let's go into these places and tell them you got to be able to vote. And then let's organize voting parties so people can actually get out to vote. Do you know, not only in Texas, look at the margin of difference of loss back in '84 for Kerry. Look at what happened in Florida, well, in Ohio, and before that, 4 years before, in Florida. If the number of black people who could vote would get up and get out and register and then vote, this man could walk into office with ease. But the reality is we sit back with the vote in our hand and don't do it. But it does no good to preach to the choir. We got to go into the streets and then organize these people so that they will be able to vote for their future. That's one way. I got a lot more to say, but I'll end right there.